Okay, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Abu Suhaidi, and in this recording I would like to present to you my reading report of CDA, first part. First off, let's start off with what is CDA? Critical discourse analysis pays much attention to power relation and ideology, which are participated uh, in discourse and force the reader or listener to perceive reality in a specific biased way. In attempts to ground analysis and interpretation of power relations on a systematic description of discourse. It also analyzes discourse in terms of action and participant referred to as transitivity. In critical discourse analysis, two topics have received special attention. First topic is gender. Study of gender tries to analyze the difference between men and women in interaction or in representation in verbal material. It also tried to find evidence for the dominance of men as a class over women. Next one is racism, and it manifests the reduced self in discourse. It is usually defined as a prejudice or stereotypical beliefs that discriminate against a minority group or a group with less status than the group in power. It is usually mixed with anarchism and xenophobia. For example, is white on white people or Caucasian people towards the African American or black people. Next topic is the history of CDA, and critical discourse analysis originated from critical linguistics, which was established at the University of East Anglia in the 1970s by Roger Fowler and others. And names are now frequently used interchangeably. Social linguistic research had paid little attention to social hierarchy and power, and the Lancaster School of Linguists, most renowned of whom was Norman Fairclough, pioneering CDA. Rufodak has also made significant contribution to this area of study. In addition to linguistic theory, the method examines ideologies and powers relation in speech by drawing on social theory and contribution from Karl Marx, Antonio Gramsci, Louis Althusser, Jürgen Habermas, Michel Foucault, and Pierre Bourdieu. Language is linked to the social because it is principal realm of ideology and become it is both the side of a stake in power conflict. Ideology has been described as the foundation of social representation of groups, and in psychological version of CDA created by Thun van Dijk and Ruth Wodak, a social connective link between social structure and discourse structure is posited. So historical competence is also essential in critical discourse studies. There are some basic terms and tools. In this topic, there are a lot of them, and the first one is discourse. The word discourse has come to be used in a number of different senses. Through the lack of other terms, we have to use a word with a quite few sense. Unfortunately, this is unavoidable in a book of this type. Probably the best method of grasping the difference between them is just to read on and get used to the ways which the word is used. This one is text. It's a product of discourse. It is normally used to describe a linguistic record or a text of communicative event. This may be an electronic recording or a written text which may or may not incorporate visual materials, or in this case of an electronic text and music. Next one is domain. Discourse domain is the term for a social recognized context within which the discourse takes place. If we talk of scientific discourse, science is a domain. Domain may have a narrow focus and may say there are social settings and which discourse take place. And thus, offices, universities, places of worship along with their recognized structure may be seen as domains. Next one is social practice. People within specific domains engage in social practice. Technically, These people are often referred to as actors. Social practices are human behaviors which involve following certain socially established conventions, some may say rules, within which the actor has some degree of individual freedom and opportunities for unique behavior. This one is genre. It is the term used to be a specific product of a social practice. It is a form of discourse culturally recognized which more or less obeys socially agreed structures, and the term is well known in the literary and film studies, from which has been borrowed by discourse analysis. Within the speech community and discourse community, term speech community has been used in different ways by linguists and anthropologists, and it's not without its problem. It is generally used to refer to a group of speakers who share common features of language, because they frequently interact with each other. And discourse community is an extension of this idea to refer to communities where the people concerned may meet frequently, rarely, or sometimes not at all, but still communicate and develop specific discourse. Next one is Speech Act. The theory of Speech Act originated in the work of philosopher Austin in the 1950s, but published in the 1970s. As he observed that in certain contexts, audiences can perform illusionary acts, not simply report on facts or give information. And we can use language to make promise, give instruction, name a ship, marry someone, or make a bet, and so on. The speech act may be interpreted by listeners as a different act from the intended by speakers, but usually we understand from our knowledge of a social situation what act is taking place. Next topic is participant and social roles. The participant are those persons who are engaged in a specific act of discourse. These may be speakers, listeners, readers, writers, and each will be played in a social role. And the term role is used much as like in drama, where an actor plays a role in a film or dramatic production. Most of us are called on to play many roles in our everyday life. Next one is ideology. We can gloss ideology as a set of beliefs or attitudes shared by members of a particular social group. As a critical discourse analyst, it is important to be aware that most discourse used by members of group tends to be ideologically based. However, the beliefs or attitude that stem from ideology may not always be held consciously and by individuals. Next up is frames. Frame is a word used to describe a cognitive that links together separate entities in our mind. Lakoff in 2004 defined frame as a mental structure that shapes the way we see the world. They are triggered by words. They are part of unconscious mind and operate automatically to help us make sense of the word. And there are some examples of CDA practices. As a simple illustration, it is commonly recognized that we can be influenced and sometimes misled by persuasive language in the form of advertising or persistent marketing. Much of way may distort the truth in a subtle way. Studies of such text is a legitimate and common area of CDA to engage in. Some of this work has focused on visual representation, some on written or spoken discourse, and some on the complementary nature of the visual and the verbal. Awareness of the means used by advertisers can empower individuals to resist pressure to buy goods they may not need or even want. I think that's all. Thank you for your attention and have a good night. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.